Hi, this is Amy, and in this next video installment, I wanted to share just a few general writing tips because I do get a variety of questions about how I write, what I write, etc. So, when you're writing, sometimes the way you set up your writing process can vary depending on what you're writing. If you're writing something short like a blog post, you might just sit down at the computer and write. If you're writing something longer, you may want to plan it out and then, write a short section each day. But one of the tips I want to share with you, just based on my experience, is that writing, editing, proofreading are all part of the larger writing process. But when you're writing, particularly if you're writing a first draft, it's best just to stay in writing mode and leave the editing, leave the proofreading, leave the rereading until another session. Because when you're writing, you're actually in a state of flow, especially if you're sitting there and writing for a while. And if you continuously stop your writing and go through and reread everything and make changes, you're going to find that it's really going to break your flow and you're not going to get very much accomplished. In addition to that, in terms of rewriting, I often find it's best, even just with shorter things like blog posts, just to write it all down and then come back to it if you can a bit later, like a couple hours later or the next day. Now, obviously, if you're writing on a deadline, you're not going to be able to do that as much, but I've just found that having that lapse of time and be able to come back with a fresh eye just makes a lot of difference. And another tips I want to share with you is that I've often, over the years when I've written, I've often just thought, okay, well, you just go and you sit at the typewriter and you just write. But I have found over the last few years that having some different tools can actually make the writing process easier and more enjoyable. And obviously, you'll need to find what works for you. For example, I've become a fan of dictation software. I like Dragon Naturally Speaking. The later version is really good. And I don't use that necessarily for everything, but I have found that for longer pieces or things where I have a lot of thoughts and I just want to get them out, it works really well. And a couple of other tools I've found that work really well are mind maps. Mind map, you can get FreeMind. It's a free mind mapping software, freemind.com, or maybe it's .org, but there's a couple of other ones as well. And I've just found, again, that that's just a really great tool for organizing your thoughts, particularly on larger projects, like if you're working on a book, fiction book, and you have, your plot, your characters, it can help you sort of lay everything out. Or if you're working on a nonfiction book or an information guide or something, it just makes it easier to see the big picture. And I also like outlines as well. I mean, outlines are a bit more linear than a mind map, but I find that they also can help you sort of work big and then fill in details. In fact, I often like to start with a mind map, move some of that over to an outline, continue to fill it in, and then start writing from there. So these are just some of the tips that I've picked up over the years as a writer. And I'd love to get some feedback. Please feel free to share some of your tips in the comments, and I look forward to hearing back from you.